Hi, this is Ty with the Canix product team, and in this video, I'm going to cover how to build custom reports in Canix. So we're on the build report page on the custom reporting page in Canix. So just a reminder on how to get here, custom reporting, and then click the build report tab. So first thing we're going to do when we're building a custom report is select a data set. To see all of the data sets that are available, you'll grab this drop down at the top here. And anything that's labeled as a worksheet is really what you want to work with. So that's what we at Canix have built for you. A worksheet is basically a compilation of different data points related to an object. So for packages, we've merged in all of the data related to items, related to the sales order the package is on, related to test results, and put that in a single worksheet that you can build off of. So strongly recommend only using the worksheets. You'll see some SQL views and some tables below here. Those are really just data that we pulled in to help build the worksheets. So when you're selecting your data source, please focus on worksheets first and foremost. Enabling multiple data sources as well. This is not something that we have configured. So to start with, please just build off of one worksheet at a time. If there are certain worksheets that you want to see joined together, please send us that feedback. Would be very curious to hear about those use cases and what you think would be helpful. So first thing first, we're going to pick a data set. One of the things you'll find is that when you're trying to answer a question about your data, it's important to pick the right data set that has the fields you need. I think you'll see this a lot with sales data analysis. There's going to be this question of, do I pick packages? Do I pick sales order items? Or do I pick sales orders? And so I just want to talk through a little bit about how you can explore the data sets and find the data set that's right for you. So let's look at the sales order worksheet first. What we'll see here is we've got some information such as amount paid, outstanding balance, lots of the customer information, some of the notes and payment terms as well, and dates related to the order. So this is really great for the purpose of potentially, accounts receivable, maybe some high-level trends of sales data over time, maybe a high-level view of sales by customer, sales by area, by postal code, by state, maybe comparing sales out of your different facilities, things like that. But if you want to get into, which items are selling the best and performing the best, this is not going to be the best data set because this is showing you data for the sales order as a whole. So that's where you might start to look at sales order items. So on a sales order item, you're going to have the unit price. You're going to have some costing information. You'll have some attributes related both to the sales order as well as the item, counting inventory type, brand, and some of those date fields as well. So you're getting a little bit more granular information. We can start to slice and dice the data by how are our sales looking by item type, item name, things like that. And then the packages data set is going to give you sort of even more granular data where now we still have the sales price, but you're able to look at this in a much more granular way. So for example, we've also got some test results on here. So you can start to, look at a correlation between test results and sales price, for example, that you wouldn't be able to do on order items or on the sales order table. And again, you've got your, brand, item name, item types, the location that package was in when it was added to the sales order, different things like that. So it just gives you another more granular level of detail for analyzing sales data, and also obviously a lot of other things as well that you can do with this data. So that's a little bit on how to explore these data sets. You'll find, the fields are aggregated by measures, numeric values, attributes, which are going to be like your text fields and dates. And then there'll also be formulas and parameters. Those are set by you, the user. And in a separate video, we'll get into some examples of how you might use formulas and parameters to customize your reports even further. But first, let's just talk through an example. Let's say I want to look at my just availability. I just want to see maybe not even what's available for sale, but just in general, what do I have in my inventory currently? So maybe I want to look at this by quantity, item name, item type. So you can just start typing some of the measure and attribute fields into this search bar, and you'll start to get that data returned. There is this little toggle here on the top right. I would always recommend starting with the table view. This is going to give you kind of a raw view of what data is getting kicked back and what you're working with. This is really helpful for validating you have the right information you want before you try and turn that into a chart or something like that. There's some nuances to pulling this data. So one thing to keep in mind when you go to any of these data sets is for example here, if I just grab quantity, item name, item type, this is giving me that for, all of the packages ever in my company, the entire company. All of the facilities that I have access to. So you might see if you have a large company, many facilities, lots of packages, and you've been on Canix, for a couple of years, you're going to see potentially some slow load times if you're just grabbing some fields like this. So you also want to keep in mind, what data set do you actually want to look at? That can really help sort of improve the performance of the load times and just give you back that data that you're actually interested in. So for example, in this case, if we're trying to look at, what data we currently have available, let me find the status column. And I'm going to exclude certain statuses here. So let's start by excluding transferred packages, those that have already left the facility. And I also want to exclude finished packages. Just not interested in those for this analysis. Then we'll go again, and we'll get back all of our packages excluding those that have been finished or transferred. So now we're starting to work with just the packages that are still active today in our facility. And let's see, we can cut this. Well, one thing I want to mention as well about the quantity field is your packages, even of the same item name, they might be measured in different units, right? So you could have two packages, one's measured in pounds, one's measured in ounces. That's how they were entered in Canix when they were created. And so you may want to also cut the data by item name, for example. Excuse me, unit name. So this is helping to then make sure that we know when we look at quantity, we know what that means for each type. Does that mean grams? Does that mean ounces? Does that mean pounds? What are we talking about here? You can also use the normalized quantity field, which is going to give you grams if it's a weight-based item, milliliters if it's volume-based, and each if it is count-based. Would love to hear feedback as well. If grams and milliliters are the right units there, I could see potentially changing those over to pounds and liters or ounces and liters or something like that as well. That also gives you an option where, if you're looking at all of your flour, for example, you could use that normalized quantity instead of quantity. So let's take a look at this. Let's say I'm going to use my normalized quantity. Don't need the unit name anymore. And I only want to look at this across specific item types that I know are weight-based. So maybe I go in here and I select some of our buds and bulk flour item types. We'll apply this and then search again. And now I know, since I have the normalized available quantity, or not available quantity, but the normalized quantity, that I'm getting everything returned in grams. One other thing you'll notice here about the data that's being returned is this is the packages data set. So the underlying data set, one row equals one package tag. But if I don't have that tag selected, the reporting is going to aggregate all of the data by default. So just something to keep in mind is it is aggregation by default. If you want to get the unique rows in a data set, you have to find some of the attributes that are unique. So in this case, if I added tag, I would then get back all of the unique package tags. You may see little notifications like this pop up as well. These just help confirm, if the right tag or the right field was selected in cases where that phrase or that field might show up multiple times across different data sets. So I'm just going to hit confirm there. So now we're looking at the same filter data, but we're breaking this down by the individual tags as well. Now let's say I want to add one more dimension to this. Maybe I want to look at locations as well. So let's see. I'm not sure I want the parent location. We'll have to add. Looks like we'll have to add the room location here as well. But yeah, for now we can look at parent location. So now we have this data cut by parent location. I'll make sure that location field gets added. So now we're adding, one more dimension here to the data. And how do we want to visualize this? That's kind of the next step once you get what you're looking for in the underlying data set. Probably one of the simplest ways to visualize data is just a good old-fashioned pivot chart, where we can, very similarly to in Excel, we can start to break this data down in a table format that makes the most sense for us. So here we've got item name and the underlying parent locations. Maybe we want to rearrange this a little bit. Maybe what we're really looking for is something more like this, item type, and then being able to open up and see the individual item names and which location those are in. So you can kind of see how, this is very flexible, just like Excel, but instead of having to constantly be exporting your data out of Canix into Excel, getting it in the format you need it, and then working with it, it's all just here for you to play with. And then we can save this and have this available to us whenever we want, right? So we'll just call this packaged quantity by item type, name, location. I'll save this answer. And I left that as discoverable, which means anyone else in my company will be able to see that report as well. Maybe, I think it's going to be useful for others. Maybe I think other people have the same question a lot. And so I've built this and shared it with everyone so everyone can benefit from that view. So that is the basic run through of how to build a report. I'm going to actually just hop back into that report for a second and just touch on some of the other options that you have available to you. So you are able to download this data. You can download charts and tables as an image. You can also download to Excel and CSV. You can also make copies. So this is going to be really helpful if someone shares a report with you that you do not have edit access for, but you want to change something about it, you want to tweak something about it, you can make a copy and then edit that copy. This is your share button. So you are going to be asked what your display name will be. It's going to be your Canix username by default. Suggest just hitting save or ignore when you see this. And then from here, you can share with a facility, or you can share with individual users, and you'll be able to set can view or edit access, and also have the option to make this report discoverable for everyone in your company. And then the links here, those do not work at the moment. We are looking into getting those to work, but right now, if you copy a link, you'll be directed to ThoughtSpot and you won't be able to log in. And we are working on rerouting those links to the Canix domain and Canix reports. So look out for that. And what else here? Configuration. So this is where you can drag and drop some of your columns to uh, change the chart and how you want that chart to be represented. You can also remove columns here. So maybe I decide, I'm not really interested in parent location anymore. I'm going to remove that, and I'm actually going to add, I'm going to add facility instead. So we'll add facility in here, and then I'm going to drag facility into the pivot chart. So now I'm looking at that same information by facility instead. So this is under this gear symbol here. This is where you can start to play with a bunch of the configuration in your chart. Do we want to have a certain calculation on our rows and columns? Do we want to change where that summary column appears? We can move it to the top instead of the bottom. So there's a bunch of configuration options here to play with. Percentage of totals, right? So we can see most of our quantities in buds. Then if we unfold this and start to look at the items, right, we can get a little bit more granular and see which items we have a significant amount of quantity in. So keep in mind that you have a lot of options here in configuration and settings for your chart and how you want that to display. And you also have a lot of chart options as well. Map charts. So maybe if you're looking at sales data by postal code, scatter charts, if you're comparing two dimensions against each other. For example, if you wanted to look at sales price for packages versus THC levels or something like that. Stacked column charts, donut charts, line charts, plenty of options here, kind of what you would hope for and expect from a good reporting tool, and KPI charts as well. So we had looked at that in the navigation video, but those allow you to look at a single measure over time and see how that measure is changing. So kind of a cool chart available. You may not have seen something like that before. What it does is it allows you to drill into that change and understand why it's happening. So lots of chart options in configuration to play with. And once you have these built, again, save option is right here. Then you can also pin these to dashboards. And we will get into live boards and dashboards and how they work in a separate video, but just know it's this pin action that allows you to add a report you've just created to a live board. So since I don't have a live board created yet, it's just going to make one for me by default. But you'll also be able to search through your live boards here and add this visualization to specific live boards, or even create a new one right here. So more to come on that in a separate video. There's a lot to go over in terms of this tool and how you can use it. So I hope this video was helpful as a primer, but you probably still have a bunch of questions. So definitely let us know if you get stuck on anything or if anything's unclear. But I hope that was helpful for getting started. And excited to hear your feedback. Thanks.